Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
Welcome to the first episode of the 6th season of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. In 2019, we'll again be statewide, and we've got a great group of network affiliates. We're going to be joined today by Stephen Waguespack. He's the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We'll talk to Stephen when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad. And oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
The Work Ready You program changed my life. There's opportunities for everything. You could be a welder, you could be a nurse. You can take any trade you want, and it's free. I dreamed of it as a kid, be successful, making a life for myself and making me a family. I always dreamed of it, but I never thought that I would be here, and dreams come true.
For your free high school equivalency training, text diploma to 55,000 or give us a call.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Stephen Waguespack, the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, is our guest. I looked it up this morning. This is the 6th time you've been on the show. You are the record holder, buddy.
Nice.
Something to be proud of.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, and there's a statue on the way.
Nice.
Let's start with an update on LABI. Just talk about the 2018 accomplishments and talk about your 2019 goals. What are you going to be focused on?
Yeah, actually the organization's doing great, and for your listeners that don't know, we're the state chamber of the State Manufacturing Association. We've got over 2,300 business members in the state, and we proudly represent all of them equally and to the best of our ability. 18 was a really good year. I mean, it's a challenging political environment, nationally, at the state level, at the local level, and so I want to say it's been the easiest politically, but we've been very effective. Our membership is very excited. One of the things I'm most proud of is we sold our old headquarters. We're building a new headquarters down here in downtown Baton Rouge, and it's going to be a very welcoming, open environment. We're going to invite business and community and civic leaders all across the state to constantly be in that building, feeding off each other's energy. So there's a lot of excitement in the organization for that new headquarters becoming almost like a hangout house for everyone. If you love free enterprise, you're going to want to be at our headquarters in 2019.
I do really look forward to seeing that building because I've heard you describe the plans, and I know it will be an exciting place, a sort of a central business hub for Louisiana and for Louisiana businesses, and I know that will be exciting. One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot, and you think about organizations like BRAC, like GNO Inc., like the Southwest Louisiana Economic Development Alliance, a lot of great supporters of our show. One of the criticisms that these organizations sometimes get, Stephen, is that they represent big business. You guys put a lot of focus on making sure you're representing and looking out for smaller businesses in Louisiana too.
Yes, right. We're a one-member, one-vote organization. So if you're a business, if you are ExxonMobil or Joe's Garage or anywhere in between, you have the same rights of membership, the same vote on every position we take. We love that equal opportunity we give to every business, and I think our businesses appreciate that. There's no pay to play in our organization, so I do love that aspect of it. But one other piece I'd mention on that is The biggest misperception I read about in the media or I hear about in the Capitol is that big business and small business have different virtues, different values, they don't feed off each other. And I gotta be honest with you, that is the biggest load of garbage that is being peddled these days. I don't know a small business that doesn't appreciate having a big business next door so that they can service or feed off of. I don't know a small business that doesn't want to one day become a big business of their own. They want to grow and be able to hire more employees and expand their footprint. That connective energy
it's a
is what
symbiotic
makes
relationship,
it work.
right? Yes.
And in the Capitol, there's always like, well, it's either one or the other. No, you need both to be successful. And the people in our membership, the businesses in our membership, they absolutely get that. It's not always easier to get policymakers to get it.
I think those that would attempt to divide small businesses versus and big business against each other are those whose agenda may be contrary to what either of those might be looking for, and that's something that you guys look out for as well. Let's talk about the overall state of business and industry in Louisiana. Give us an update. What's the health of the Louisiana business community?
You know, I would say it's a good, bad story. Nationally, you've seen a lot of improvement in the national economy. Obviously, in the last couple of years, you saw taxes get reduced, regulations reduced. You saw an influx of new investment come in, both domestic and from international coming back home. So we fed off of some of that, and so that was a good thing. At a state level, we've got a lot of impediments that we're trying to overcome. Obviously, the tax debate has been discussed ad nauseum. I'm sure we'll talk about it some here. We've got other things like legal environment, others that trip us up at home. And so the good news is we're feeding off of that national economic momentum. We're hoping that the new changeover in Congress doesn't mess all that up, to be honest with you. But at a state level, we got work to do. Our workforce participation rate, the lowest since the 70s. Our GDP, lower than the rest of the country. Our unemployment rate isn't where it needs to be. We've got a lot of work to do at home. So there's some nervousness with the state, parochial economy, but there's excitement that what's going on nationally, and hopefully that wave we can ride a little bit.
Isn't that one of the frustrations that we see, is that in a time when things nationally seem to be, from an economic standpoint, really booming, that we haven't really felt those effects as much in our state? Something you guys have researched and you look at pretty carefully.
Yeah, it is a frustration. And look, this isn't a new phenomenon for Louisiana, unfortunately. Not to get to Dr. Phil on you real quick, but Louisiana, we have such low expectations sometimes of what we can achieve. And if people experience a little bit of success, they view it as a good run. And what I often see on that is, man, that little bit of success, there's so much more behind that door if we can just kick that door open and go grab some of those policies and efforts to open up that flood of investment that's right there on our doorstep, but we don't always invite it in.
I can remember being a just out of college young guy working on the staff of the state senate back in the late 80s and early 90s, and the debate always was, what do we need to do to get make our position average in the South? Right. And if we could just be average in the South, right, in teacher pay, in economic rankings. And I can remember being a 21, 22-year-old young guy thinking, is that really our goal? Is average in the South really our goal? Why isn't that, given all the resources that we are blessed with in this wonderful state, why isn't our goal top 5 in America in everything we do? What does it take to move us in that direction, Steve?
That's really the 800-pound gorilla in this whole discussion. We've got to have these high expectations that permeate throughout society. It can't just be a couple of people talking about it. Everyone has to feel it in their bones. I do think there's going to be a civic uprising of some sort coming soon. I think the election cycle opens up that door. I think people are becoming more aware of other options there are out there. Social media and these other ways to get information is opening people's eyes for the first time in generations here in Louisiana. We can see very clearly what's going on in Texas. We can see very clearly what's going on in other states in the South. And I'm starting to hear more and more people say, wait a minute, why don't we have that too? So we're trying to exploit that awareness that's growing in the state. I want people hungry for more than they've ever sought before in Louisiana. And when I say people, I'm not just talking about people in the Capitol pressing buttons. I'm talking about average, everyday people. The hungrier our society gets for big improvement, I think the faster we can go and make this cataclysmic leap we've been wanting to do for a long time.
I want to take a break. I want to come back and talk specifics about tax policy, about infrastructure, and some of the things we need to do to move us up in those competitive rankings. We're visiting with Stephen Waguespack. He's the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together, good times or bad, and oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors, they're my customers, they're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Stephen Waguespack of LABI is our guest. We spent way too much time on this television show last year and on the radio show that we do talking about the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, commonly referred to as ITEP, or the 10-year Industrial Property Tax Exemption. For 80 plus years, it had been the cornerstone economic development program that the state of Louisiana used to attract investment, attract jobs, and quite frankly, stay competitive with places like Texas. Changes were made in 2016, went pretty far. The governor walked those back a little bit, but there's still confusion in the marketplace. We saw just within the last couple of weeks where ExxonMobil was denied in Baton Rouge an ITEP by the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. I believe a huge and monumental mistake on their part. Let's talk about ITEP. Let's talk about what happened in Baton Rouge to ExxonMobil and what the ramifications of the East Baton Rouge School Board decision might be on the rest of the state.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue, but you're right. ITEP has originally started in 1936 in Louisiana, enshrined in the Constitution in 1974, was amended and changed by the governor in 2016 by executive order, and then again 2018. His goal has been to put local control of this, and what we've really done is we've put local chaos in the middle of this, is what we've got. And let me explain why. If you're a big major manufacturer and you're looking to go anywhere in the world with your investment, whether it's Texas, Louisiana, Peru, some other country, whatever, you have a spreadsheet and you're saying, okay, what's it going to cost to do business? What's my workforce? What's my supply chain, et cetera? When it gets to tax structure, in Louisiana, we fall short on a lot over the years, and we have forever. We tax inventory, business utilities, manufacturing equipment. We have a complicated sales tax collection system. The laundry list is there where we do not score well. It's been that way forever. Instead of having the guts to fix those things, we've put the ITEP on top of it as a patch. That ITEP kept us in the game for generations. That ITEP brought that investment here. That literally has changed South Louisiana.
It gave industry some certainty when they were filling out those spreadsheets,
Absolutely.
right?
It kept us in the game, and it got us a lot of those things. So right now that ITEP is chaos, now we get a 0 on that column. And they look at Texas, and they don't have all those harmful taxes, and they have a workable ITEP. So we're losing those battles now. So what was meant to put local control, it's been local chaos, because if right now what the state of Louisiana policy is, if you're a manufacturer looking at Louisiana, you have to go to the state, get preliminary approval, go to the parish, get a resolution by the sheriff, the school board, the parish council, the metro council, go to a public hearing where you have outside groups coming in calling you every name under the sun.
That's right.
If any of those trip up, you're out. If you get those, then you go back to the state and you have to ask the governor, and if the governor says yes or no, you get the signature there. It's a long, public, woodshed process that many companies are now saying, you know what, forget it. We're not going to go through it because our shareholders are getting freaked out, and it's not worth it because of the other challenges you have.
And we've got better infrastructure in Texas. We've got a more simplified sales tax system in Texas. They're not taxing sales tax on my manufacturing machinery and equipment in Texas. I've got a better, maybe educational system to rely on there. It doesn't make sense for us to go through this fight to put this investment in Louisiana when we can just as easily put it in Texas and find greater return in a faster way. And groups like Together Louisiana and Together Baton Rouge and some of these other groups that have spun off around the state are looking at the property tax issue specifically and the exemption that takes place there. I saw a graphic where Together Baton Rouge was comparing the amount of property tax that ExxonMobil Baton Rouge pays to the amount of property tax that ExxonMobil Baytown pays. And ExxonMobil Baytown pays significantly more. What they fail to point out is that in Baytown, they're paying way less in sales tax. There is no corporate income tax. There is better infrastructure. There are all these other things. And they hang their hat on specifically the property tax situation. And I find it to be, quite frankly, a little disingenuous. What are your thoughts?
Well, you said it perfectly. I would agree wholeheartedly. Just use that Baytown facility. That's also a much newer facility. Mm-hmm. And so the facility we have in Baton Rouge, which really is the linchpin of our local economy and has been for generations here in Louisiana, it's an aging facility. And so if we don't use ITEP for them to continuously upgrade that facility, at some point that facility is going to die on the vine. And so it may not be like the Indianapolis Colts where in the middle of the night the whole plant goes out of town, but it will be a slow deterioration of that site, and one day it won't be necessary anymore.
We're a statewide television show. You're a statewide business organization. What do you believe the ramifications of what has happened over the last couple of weeks in East Baton Rouge Parish might be around the rest of the state?
I think it's enormous. I think groups like Together Louisiana have found the model. The model is all you have to do is go convince one little school board somewhere, give them some fuzzy facts, and if they vote it down, that's all it takes to stop the process. Because there's so many stops in the process. If one entity says no, it's stopped. And so I think that's going to be the model they'll replicate if we let them. So we have to demand better information. We have to demand changes to this program. And also we need local leaders and state leaders to step up. I want to take a moment, if I can, and commend Mayor Sharon Weston Broom here in Baton Rouge. She took a courageous stand this week, said enough is enough. ExxonMobil's been a fantastic partner in this community, and we don't want to shove them away out of spite. And so I commend her for standing up. We need more people like that standing up.
About 30 seconds left in this segment. I know that State Senator Bodie White and State Representative Franklin Foyle have looked at drafting some legislation to bring the program back to where it was prior to the 2016 changes. How much do you know about that legislation, and what are your thoughts?
I know a lot about it. We're working with them and others. Here's the challenge. It's a constitutional provision. The governor changed this tremendously via executive order. So a statute's great, but unless the governor decides to step in and change that order, it's going to be very difficult to overcome his objections for reform.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to focus on the 2019 legislative session, what you guys may be looking at, some of the things you might be playing defense against, some of the areas you might be on offense, and what we might expect statewide. We're visiting with Stephen Waguespack of LABI, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
What if I said that the American dream is alive and well, and that it exists for anyone willing to build it? That the power of a nation does not reside in its monuments, but in the hearts and minds of those who built them, and that the country's greatest heroes also wear hard hats. In today's America, it's not enough to dream about the future. You have to build it. Build your future at byf.org.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
For more than 20 years, the TJC Group has been helping companies assess their training needs and to develop programs that improve the effectiveness and productivity of their teams.
Training doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Let us put our experience and expertise to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
It might be one of the most efficient, most effective methods of communications we've ever used.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Stephen Waguespack, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, is our guest. You've been pretty specific over the last couple of years in your writings, which I enjoy and read very carefully, by the way, about the need for this governor and legislature, or the next governor and next legislature, to look at very specific reforms. Let's start with tort reform. We are among the most litigious states in America. We have been on the Judicial Watch hellhole list for a number of years now. It is a major issue costing us jobs in our state. Your perspective?
It's becoming the largest issue that no one wants to talk about in Louisiana. When you say tort reform in a room, 80% of the people immediately say, well, that's not me, I'm not a lawyer, I can stop paying attention. Everyone needs to pay attention, because if you pay car insurance in this state, you better pay attention. If you own a small business, if you own a trucking company, if you're shipping a product, you better pay attention. Because right now in Louisiana, we have a few laws on the books which make it very profitable for these excessive claims to come out, and we all pay it in our insurance rates. My son's turning 16 next month. I've started to price these things. It's not fun paying that new car insurance.
Take out a loan to buy a 16-year-old car.
And it's because of the
right?
tort tax that flows through to every household in this state. In this state, you know, it's the hardest state in the country to get a jury on one of these car wreck cases. It's the hardest state in the country to give all the information to a jury if you get it. You can't tell them about seatbelt usage, medical claims, etc. All those gag orders and limits put you in front of the judge that the attorney wants. And that's where the jackpot justice kicks in. We all pay it in our insurance claims, and it literally is becoming an issue that's hurting working families and businesses alike. It has to get fixed ASAP.
There are so many things in Louisiana that we are proud of in terms of being unique. This ought not be one. We are an outlier when it comes to these jury trial thresholds, and it is costing us jobs, and it is costing us millions in our economy, and we need to get it fixed.
And look, let me just say, we're going to bring bills this year to try to address it. The governor doesn't want to touch these issues. And so we're going to keep trying to convince him to look the other way at this. I'm skeptical, but I'm going to keep pounding that rock. Hopefully we get some movement on it.
You guys worked really hard on some state spending transparency issues, the Louisiana checkbook and some things. Give us an update on where some of that stands.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see. So the state has a new website, LA Checkbook, that they're rolling out kind of over a 3-year period. We're excited about that one. I'll be honest with you, I'm even more excited about what's going on at the local level. In Lafayette, the local school board there has really been aggressive putting all of their spending on website. I would urge areas in Acadiana, go look at that, find that spending, be a citizen auditor, hold those folks accountable. Baton Rouge deserves credit as well. Again, to give Mayor Broom credit, she put out there, rolled this site out. Baton Rouge is putting a lot of their expenditures online. We're hoping that in the next couple of years, you'll see local governments, judicial courts, and the state have all of this information out there in easy click format. So if you don't like what you hear on the radio or read in the paper, within a couple clicks, I want you to see where that money's going and hold people accountable.
Healthcare is an important issue when it comes to state government and our state budget. $30 billion or so is about where the state budget is annually. We spend effectively half of that money, over $14 billion, I think is the last figure I saw, on health care in Louisiana. There is not a single person that wants anyone who is truly needed to go without medical care or medicine. We don't want young children to go without glasses if they need them. But this is an unsustainable level of spending on poverty, and we've got to start addressing the actual cause, as difficult as those conversations may be.
Yeah, how Louisiana tackles poverty is an enormous question. And there's kind of two schools of thoughts in the capital. Some say, look, just keep big money and big programs that have been tried for years, and that's the best way to show compassion. I would disagree on that. I would say, look, let's do everything we can to get people in a high-paying job, get them into a more mobile and self-sufficient, way of life. That's the best way to help elevate people out of poverty. That's why school choice, that's why manufacturing jobs, which pay on average of $87,000 without a 4-year degree, those types of things are important to elevate people out of poverty. When it comes to Medicaid, You've got over 40% of our budget just on Medicaid. And you've got over 50% of babies born in Louisiana every year growing into Medicaid, so that balloon is getting larger. I don't think we're doing those people any favor by just providing those programs without the other piece, the growing economy piece, the school choice piece, to help elevate them and their next generation into a better life.
Anytime we bring up that conversation, we are immediately pointed at and say, you know, you business people, you more conservative people, you don't care about poor people. Nothing could be farther from the truth. What I know is that government can never give you the standard of living and quality of life that economic opportunity can. We need to move more of those folks off of government and into economic opportunity, and that's what we need to be focused on.
Private sector jobs aren't partisan. A manufacturing job's not partisan.
Right.
If you can do the job, you get the work.
Let's talk about a couple other things really quickly. Infrastructure in the state. We heard this morning at a breakfast that you and I both attended as we sit here and tape about the focus that the Baton Rouge area is going to put on a new bridge over the Mississippi River. Traffic congestion, infrastructure is a statewide issue, not just Greater Baton Rouge. A lot of focus, I think, we might see on that in this legislative session.
Yeah, I do think it'll come up in the next session. There's a group that's trying to put together a package, whether it be a gas tax or some other revenue source to fund infrastructure. We're talking to those folks. Well, we've encouraged them to say, look, the only chance you have to passing something in the Capitol, especially in election year, is if you list specific projects.
Just like they did in Baton Rouge?
Just like they did in Baton Rouge. Everyone knows at the state, you've got to build a bridge in Baton Rouge. You've got to replace that Lake Charles Bridge. You've got to make improvements in 49 South and Acadiana. You've got to do some of these other projects. I think that has to be the way this goes if you want buyer, constituent trust, because right now they're not going to trust a formula, and quite frankly, I don't blame them.
10 seconds is about all we have on this, but the governor's race and legislative races coming up, critically important to our future in 2019.
2019 is a game changer for Louisiana. There's 64 open seats in the legislature. There's a governor's race. Get involved, get educated. It's the biggest opportunity we have to change the state for the better for a long time.
To grow our economy, to create jobs, and do the kinds of things that we all want to do to see this state prosper at the level that, given all of its natural resources and things that happen here, there is no reason we ought not be in the top 5 in all of these economic indicators all across the country. Stephen Waguespack, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Thanks for the work you do, brother.
Thank you for everything you do as well.
We'll have you back on sometime soon.
Number 7's coming up.
There you go. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.